Good morning. Welcome to the Benton Church this fine Sunday. Didn't you love backing out of your garage or getting in your car and seeing it rain? Yay! That was really cool. Well, we are glad that you are here. We have a very casual, come as you are sort of environment. The coffee and tea and goodies and water is still open over there, so feel free to get up while I'm talking and go get a drink if you haven't done that yet. If you need nursery during the service for ages infant through 5, just head on out the doors and go to your right, and you'll find Sydney down there. We also have a happenings booth at the back, so there's sign-ups. You can hear me announce a couple things. Go back to happenings and sign up. That's right back there where I'm pointing. All righty. It's the new year, which means some new leadership in the church. The church leadership rosters roll over January 1. So if you'd like to know who your new leadership is, or if you'd like to know if maybe you said yes, go to the church office out these doors and check to see if your name is on one of the lists on the walls, alrighty? Also, Christmas is over. Thank you to everyone who put up the Christmas decorations and took them down. I appreciate that because I did none of that. But we do need some new storage devices for the Christmas decorations, so there's an information in your bulletin about that with the exact measurements of what to buy, but we're looking for plastic containers in a certain size rather than cardboard boxes. So if you'd like to pick one of those up, usually those are on sale during January, and donate one of those, that would be great. Also, traditionally in January is the chili cook-off, and you've seen some signs about that. That's our largest youth fundraiser and pretty much kind of the only one that we do. If you would like to bring chili or some cool item to donate, you can sign up back in Happenings, but Corinne is not here to announce that. They are in Salina at the district youth event, so she said that they're having a great time, so pray for them also. And then lastly, today we're going to have communion, and all of the bread is gluten-free. So everyone's just welcome to take communion, whether you're gluten-free or not. Everybody is open and welcome to receive at the communion table. All righty, let's stand and greet one another. You can say hello to somebody around you, or maybe several steps away, and then we're going to sing He Lives.
Oh, good.
You ask me how I know He lives. He lives within my heart. In all the world around me, I see His loving care. And though my heart grow weary, I never will despair. I know that He is leading through all the stormy blasts. The day of His appearing shall come at last. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know He lives. He lives within my heart. Rejoice, rejoice, O Christian, lift up your voice and sing eternal hallelujahs to Jesus Christ the King, the hope of all who seek Him, the help of all who find. None other is so loving, so good and kind. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know He lives. He lives within my heart. All my tomorrows, all my past, Jesus is Lord of all. I've quit my struggles, contentment at last. Jesus is Lord of all. King of kings, Lord of lords, Jesus is Lord of all. All my possessions and all my life, Jesus is Lord of all. All of my conflicts, all my thoughts, Jesus is Lord of all. His love wins the battles I could not have fought. Jesus is Lord.
Well, you may be seated. Morning, everybody. My name is Justin. I'm the pastor here. I'm going to give you a little idea of what the service holds today. For those of you who are newer, we just spent some time singing. We believe that in expressing ourselves in worship is more than just listening. And so it's a full body experience in a sense. You know that some of us aren't necessarily huge into singing ourselves, but it's an opportunity that Scripture tells us to express our love to God. And so we do that. We're about to enter into a time of prayer where we pray for the things that are on our hearts and the concerns that we know of others. We'll take this offering at the end of that prayer time where those of us who are committed to the ministry of the Benton Church, we will give because we believe God calls us to. And if you're a guest, don't worry about it. And then we'll hear this message about something hopefully new or interesting that we can discover about who Jesus is. We're talking about Jesus being victorious for the next few weeks. And then we're moving towards communion time, which is a time where we come forward, and everyone's invited, but we come forward and we surrender ourselves to Him. I was gone this past Sunday, and thank you for all of you who stepped up to help make that happen. But one of the things that really caught my attention was just hearing from some people about the children and how that was just a really neat experience. And it just got me thinking about all this church does to bless the children of our church and our community. And there are a couple of adults who have some of the teenagers, Adam and Benton Salina, that we gathered hundreds and hundreds of towels for. And you'll see some pictures next week. That's the plan. But the sneaky behind the scenes thing is they were able to pack 1,500 of those. I can't even remember what they're called. We'll know next week for disaster response. And our students from the Benton Church got to be a part of that packing. Because there's over 1,000 people there, they had to choose different things that they got to do. But thank you. Thank you for being a church that loves our children. Appreciate that. So as we come to the time of prayer, my question is there anything that anybody wants to share with us about that you would like to have prayer for, people be praying for this upcoming week, or a celebration?
I just want to thank everybody for your prayers and texts and cards of encouragement. And they were answered abundantly, your prayers. I found out Friday, it looks like I probably will not have any chemo or radiation. And so that's good news. They're running one more test that may determine something, but he didn't think it would be significant. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Anybody else have something that they want to share? Well, I'm going to open us up in prayer then. And I'll pray on behalf of all of us. And then it'll be this time of silence where you pray for the things that are on your heart. We're moving into a time, the series of victory, and we're talking about Jesus is our victor today. And so I would invite you during the prayer time just to think of the things that God has done for us. And for some of us, it might be easy to name some things. Some of us, it might be more challenging. I invite us to just say, Jesus, you are the victorious one. You're the one who can bring victory to my life. And then maybe pray for the things that are on your heart and your friends. And then after that time of silence, I'll pray for our offering. Would we pray together, please? Thank you, God. Thank you that you are victorious. God, that we can live in this time knowing that you are with us, that you can take care of us, and that you can bring hope to all the situations that we are in. God, I thank you for the celebrations of birth and how we can look back and see how your hand has been in our lives. God, I thank you for the celebration of a removal of cancer from a body. What a gift. Help us as a church to continue to support one another, God. Help us to pray for one another. Help us to physically be the hands and feet of Jesus for one another, so that your hope can be seen in and through us, in our community, our places of work, our homes. God, we move to this time of silence. We know that you will hear our prayers. And so we now pause and share in confidence. God, may we now take this time, and as a response to who you are and what you've done for us, may we choose to give back a portion of what you've given us to you. And may you help the Benton Church to use these resources for the ministry of Jesus Christ to Christ alone. To you be the glory for everything. In the matchless name of Jesus Christ. Albus jumped into the carriage, and Ginny closed the door behind him. Students were hanging from the windows nearest them. A great number of faces, both on the train and off, seemed to be turned toward Harry. Why are they all staring? Demanded Albus, as he and Rose craned around to look at the other students. Oh, don't let it worry you, said Ron. It's me. I'm extremely famous. All this rose, Hugo and Lily laughed, and the train began to move, and Harry walked alongside it, watching his son's thin face, already ablaze with excitement. And Harry kept smiling and waving, even though it was like a little bereavement watching his son glide away from him. The last trace of the steam evaporated in the autumn air, and the train rounded a corner, and Harry's hand was still waved, raised in farewell. "You'll be all right," murmured Ginny. As Harry looked at her, he lowered his hand absent-mindedly and touched the lightning scar on his forehead. "I know he will." The scar had not pained Harry for 19 years. All is well. I got this little quirk, this thing about me that I need to let you know. When I find out that you've gone to a movie or read a book, I will ask you about it, and I will typically say something not as obvious as this, but it's, "Give me all the details, and I want to know the ending of the movie." I know some of you are thinking, "You've got to be kidding." Well, I'm the type of person that I want to know the ending because I think it's because I want to know that everything's going to be okay. But I like to then see how the puzzle pieces fit together to get to that ending. Okay, so some of you are saying, "Shame on you, Justin, for being that type of person." But I'm just trying to be honest. So if you see a movie and I say, well, go ahead and tell me about it, I want the details. You don't have to say, "Well, I won't give the ending away to you." No. Give me the ending. And I'm sorry if you're reading that book right now, and now you know the ending, but I feel okay about it, just so you all know. There is a book in the Bible, and it's called the Book of Revelation, where John, who's on this island called Patmos, and he actually is exiled there. And he's sent there because he unashamedly lived for Jesus. And so now he's in a sense on this prison island. And while he is there, all of a sudden something happens. And one of the days, what it says is it's the Lord's Day, and so it's likely that he's celebrating a specific time in worship. And it says that he's caught up in the Spirit, which means he's singing or he's praying or he's reading or whatever he's doing. And all of a sudden, he hears this very loud voice. And this voice says to him, "I want to share a bunch of stuff with you, and I want you to write it down. Because I am going to show you," as Paul Harvey would say, "the rest of the story." And John has the privilege then of not only seeing, because he begins to see all these visions of what's going to happen, but then to write down and have an understanding of what the rest of the story is. And then he can look back and see how he has gotten to that place, and have an understanding of that no matter what happens, and here's key, no matter what happens from this point forward, we know what the ending is going to be. We're starting a new message series today, and it's called Victory. How do we live in these not yet days? And what we mean by that is we, as followers of Jesus, we believe that Jesus Christ is coming back someday. He will return. And when that happens, the end of time begins to take place, kind of what the book of Revelation talks about. What do we do? What do we do between now and when that happens? That's what we're going to be spending the next few weeks talking about. But today, I want us to hear the rest of the story. I want us to begin to see what John saw at the beginning of that vision. We're not going to go through all of Revelation, right? We don't have time this morning. But we're going to look at the beginning of what John saw. And may it open our eyes to something fresh about Jesus and about John's understanding of Jesus. Lord, help us today to get a grasp of your word in a new way, or a way that has brought us great comfort and hope in our lives. God, may the words that I share and the things that we all hear be acceptable and pleasing to you. For you are our rock and our blessed So John hears this voice. This voice says, I want you to start writing some stuff down. And so then the vision begins to take place. And so he says, I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me. I hear this voice, I turn and I look. And it says, and when I turned, I saw these 7 golden lampstands. Now later in the passage, in this passage, and it's also in your bulletin, you'll see that it's mentioned that these lampstands are 7 different churches, right? And so he sees that there are these 7 lampstands, and it says, and among the lampstands, and this is where it begins to get important for us to see, is that among these lampstands there is someone like a son of man. And so here's what we begin to see in the picture that John is trying to write down for us. So he turns, and immediately he's caught up in this vision. And the vision is that there's these lampstands, but there's this Son of Man. Whoever the Son of Man is, that is among the lampstands. The picture, the wording that's used here is that this is something that lives and moves among the lampstands here. So almost like this is where they take residence. This is where this Son of Man is. And so this will be helpful for us as we begin to hear some stuff later, to know that this Son of Man moves among the churches, that moves among the lampstands. And so he sees this, and he says, and it's like a son of man. Now for those of us that have spent some time in the Gospels, we know that Son of Man is mentioned a lot. It actually starts back in Daniel chapter 7, where what's going on there is we begin to see that this Son of Man is also a term used for the Messiah. It is a messianic description. And so now what John is beginning to say here is, you know what it looks like? It looks like maybe, just maybe, something very Messiah-like is now moving in and amongst the churches. And now I have the privilege of seeing it. And then he starts to share 8 different characteristics of this Son of Man. A Son of Man is what he's saying. Of this Son of Man. And tries to write down what he sees. And so he starts to talk about this Son of Man. He says it's dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet with a golden sash around his chest. Now, most scholars, I'm going to be sharing, but most scholars tend to think a lot of these things are, okay? And when it comes to this, well, what they say is that this is a picture of what the priest or the high priest would wear, the one who would enter in and do the sacrifices for the people. And so he's saying this Son of Man, this one who is wandering around, who resides, who lives in and amongst the churches, he looks like a high priest, somebody who has given sacrifice on behalf of all of the people. And so he's got this golden sash around his chest, and then he goes on to say, and the hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow. And the image of what John is likely trying to begin to show about this one who looks a whole lot like a priest, somebody who understands what sacrifice is all about, is also somebody who has experience, who has wisdom. It is somebody who is honored. People with graying or whitish hair in this culture was somebody who is celebrated, somebody who is greatly appreciated. And so John's saying, here's somebody who knows a whole lot about life and everything that's going on. Somebody that would be worthy of our respect, so much so that his hair is as white as snow. And it begins to talk about that this may be somebody who truly, completely, purely knows everything that he's talking about. And so he's got this hair that's white as snow, and then it says his eyes were like a blazing fire. And what scholars tell us is that this really begins to focus in on the fact that this Son of Man, whoever it is, has the ability to pierce with their eyes, their vision, and to have a clear understanding of what is going on inside people's lives. That they have the ability to discern whether or not we are doing right and wrong, yes, but also whether or not our intents, our motives, the things that we think about are proper or improper. What were our desires as we chose to do this? And what was our initial desire sometimes when we end up not doing the things that we were supposed to do? Well, what John is saying is this Son of Man, it looks like this person can look right inside me and understand those things. And it's fascinating to me because he's sharing all this stuff like, I've never seen this before. Which is interesting, right? This is the Apostle John. But it goes on to say, his feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace. And bronze in a furnace, what would happen is if there was any of the stuff that shouldn't be in the bronze, it would get melted off and away. And it's not talking about those things, but whatever is left is super strong, right? And so it is going through whatever it takes to get anything on the side, and what the result is something incredibly strong. This Son of Man has power like we couldn't believe. It has strength like we couldn't imagine, but also power, because look what he says. It says, his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. Have any of you been so close to water that's so loud that it's the only thing you've ever heard? When we went to Essex Park for our vacation, we got to stay right on whatever that big river is. What's that river in Essex Park? There we go, the Big Thompson. And so where we were sitting, there was a hammock right down by the river. And I would love to sit on that river, pull out a book, right, look at the end and the start, and start reading through it. And there was nothing that could interrupt me. They could be yelling from the house, and I wouldn't hear them at all. It was glorious, right? Or if you've ever been to Niagara Falls or something like that, you get so close to the water, you can't hear anything else. What John is saying is there's an amount of strength here, something that I don't think that I have ever seen before in my life. When I turned and looked at the Son of Man, and it says in his right hand, he was holding these stars. Now later it talks about what the stars are. The right hand is the hand of authority in the first century. All right, you sat at the right hand of somebody, it meant that you were the first in charge after the person. And so everything with the right hand was the top authority that you had to offer. And so now the Son of Man is holding these 7 stars, which we later find out are angels or messengers to the churches. That the Son of Man is holding those things, that he has authority over those things, and he holds it in the palm of his hand. Who is this guy? That's what John is saying in all this. And then it says his mouth was like a sharp, double-edged sword. So not only are his eyes piercing inside each and every person or everyone and able to see what even our thoughts or our intents, our hopes, whether it's right or wrong, but now this person has the ability with his mouth to determine, to state which one of us are actually living the appropriate way and which ones aren't. He is the one, the Son of Man discerns our future and our results because of what he says. That's the power that the Son of Man has. And then it says, his face was like a sun shining in all of its brilliance. And the word here, what it's trying to say is the maximum power that the sun has. If it's shining, you can't escape it. John starts to look at this Son of Man, and he's going, it's almost like I've never seen anything like this before in my entire life. Let me ask you a question. When you think about Jesus, when you picture Jesus, what's the picture that comes to your mind? The first picture that comes to my mind is usually the laughing Jesus, which is a picture where he's got this huge smile on his face. And it looks like he just loves life. That's the first picture that comes to my mind. What are some other pictures? What are pictures that come to your mind? For some of you, it might be the picture of Jesus with a child on their knee, right? Or children around him. Some of us, we might picture, Jesus with the crown of thorns on his head and blood pouring down, and it looks like he's experiencing all this pain, and we imagine or realize it's for us. Some of us, right? We might picture, especially with Christmas that just came and went, right? The 9.6 ounce little baby Jesus, right? We might think of Jesus as the child. I think this is what John was trying to share in the midst of all of this is, I spent years with Jesus. I saw Jesus in ways that nobody else probably would because I was with him. And now when I see the Son of Man, it's like I can't even describe him in a way that connected to Jesus before this. That's how much power, that's how much glory, that's how much of everything this Son of Man is. That a follower of Jesus who lived with him, who wrote about him, looking at the Son of Man and saying, this is something that I have never ever seen or imagined in my life. And that is the glory of the victorious King, Jesus. And John now, the one who lived with him, right? John now is beginning to see that what Jesus has, who Jesus is completely more different than I have ever thought of or imagined prior to this time, where God is now showing me who the Son of Man is and what the Son of Man is all about. And so when he sees him, John says, I fell at his feet as though I was dead. This happens in Scripture a lot. When a messenger of God or the angel of the Lord, or throughout Scripture, all these different times where we see something going on and we just fall down, right? Matthew chapter 17, verse 7 is the time of the transfiguration. And it seems like this kind of ties in with that because they fall down when they say Jesus being changed in their presence, right? And Moses and Elijah are there as well. And they're seeing stuff like they've never seen before. And they fall down before what's going on. It says, and then he, the Son of Man, says, placed his right hand on me and said, do not be afraid. And that's exactly what Jesus said to him in the Transfiguration. That is often shared every time people are in fear of what they imagine or what they're seeing God to be. That God is saying, don't be afraid. Yes, God has all this power, right? And literally, Scripture tells us that he is all powerful. And that same God, the Son of Man, is looking at John and is seeing this stuff. It seems like for the first time. Saying, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid at realizing that Jesus is way more than you ever imagined that he is. So he says, don't be afraid. And then he begins to describe himself. So now John begins to put the pieces together of who the Son of Man is. When the Son of Man, when Jesus says, I am the first and the last. Some versions say the Alpha and the Omega. What it's saying is I was there from the beginning. What you would imagine at the beginning, I already existed. And I will be there from what you imagine the end to be. I'm going to be there and I'm going to be beyond that. That the person who is now speaking to you has existed forever. Both ways. And that's what Jesus is saying, is I am the one who is the first and the last. And then he says this very key phrase. He says, I am the living one. Because it was dead. And now look, alive. And John, the one who lived with Jesus, right? The one who took care of his mother for years and years after Jesus' death and resurrection and ascension, is now seeing Jesus in the whole light. You are the one. You are the one who died and rose again for me. How could I not see it? How could I not realize the amount of authority and power, the ability that you have to look inside my life? How did I not see that before this? Jesus is saying, I'm the first and the last. I was dead, and now I'm alive forever and ever. And, he says, I hold the keys, plural. I hold the keys to death and Hades. What this is saying is this one who has the ability to look into our lives and to discern our intents. He is the one who also makes the decision of whether or not we can be held from death ourselves. That those who surrender ourselves to Jesus, that he can keep us from an eternity away from God. But he is also the one who says that if we don't surrender ourselves to him, there is this other place. There's this place called Hades. There's this place called hell, where people will go. I hold the keys, not me. This is what the Son of Man, this is what Jesus is saying. I hold the keys to that. My resurrection is what can cause victory in your life. That's what he's sharing. Now, about a year ago, right, our whole country was kind of a little anxious because this whole presidential election was going on, right? Maybe you remember it, I don't know. And now President Trump and Hillary Clinton, right, they were both in this sparring, this battle that was going on, and sometimes it got incredibly ugly. I really appreciated one of the memes, not that I'm a huge fan of memes, or even Facebook for that matter myself, but mostly because I'm lazy. But one of the memes that I really appreciated that kept showing up again and again, at least on my feed, was just the reminder that no matter who is president, Jesus is still the king. And I think that's what Jesus is trying to help John understand as he's writing down this vision. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter how weird, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful things get, no matter the difficulties that you may have experienced, no matter what you think the future holds from now until the end, I am the one, Jesus is saying, I am the one who will be victorious. Because I have risen again, I will live forever, and I'm the one that holds the keys. So pay attention to the rest of the story. And then he begins to share some other stuff, right? He begins to share, he begins to give some understanding of some of the confusing stuff that John was seeing. And so he says, right, therefore, because, the therefore here is because you now see me in this whole new light, where I have all authority, where I truly have all power. Yeah, we said this stuff before. We may even thought that we believed this stuff before, but now we're beginning to see that it is way bigger, way more significant, way more important than I have ever imagined in my life. Jesus is saying to John, now that you are beginning to see me for how I really am, I want you to write this stuff down. I want you to write down what you have seen, the death, burial, and resurrection. I want you to write down what you are seeing right now in the midst of beginning to understand that Jesus is way more significant, way more powerful than we've ever seen, ever imagined. And I want you to write down what's going to take place later. I'm going to share with you some stuff to let you know that I do win in the end. I will be victorious, is what Jesus is sharing with him at the beginning of the book of Revelation. And I want you to write it down so other people can see this and other people can begin to understand this. And then he starts to make some stuff clear. Not everything. Boy, if you've read the book of Revelation, you will find out that not everything is clear. But John wrote it down the best that he could, I'm guessing. Because when somebody that powerful is asking you to do something, the one who holds your life in their hands, what are you going to do? Well, you'll probably write it down. Then he starts to make some stuff clear. He says the mystery, not something mysterious. What this means is the things you didn't understand before. The mystery of the 7 stars that you saw on the right hand, where the authority is, I have the authority, are the on the right hand, and of the 7 golden lampstands is this. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, whether they're messengers or actual angels or people who are in charge of those churches. It's hard to really know. Doesn't matter though, because that's all in the palm of Jesus' right hand. He has authority over all of that. And he said, and the 7 lampstands are these 7 churches. I've got some things that I want you to let some churches know. And help them to realize that they are in my hand. Which remember, not only is this in his hand, not only does he have authority over this, but back to the first couple verses, when we find out that the Son of Man is also living in and amongst the churches. Some of these churches weren't doing good things. Jesus was in the midst of them. Some of these churches were doing good things. Jesus was in the midst of them. He is not only Lord over all, he is with us right now. He's inviting us to begin to know and understand that we can have victory in our lives as well, as a church. As individuals, we can have victory. Do we believe it? Do we see Jesus the way that Jesus truly is? Yes, it is. is way more than what you're imagining, even right now. So in the 70s, in England, the British fire department, they go on strike. This happened. And when that happened, the British Army had to take over whenever emergencies took place. And one time, there was this one squadron that got a call, and so they get out the fire truck and they head to this lady's house because her cat was caught in a tree. True story, right? And so her cat was caught in a tree. They get there, and they're able to get the cat down, the little bitsy. They were able to get down, is what the story said, easily. And she's thanking them. They're saying, "It's not a problem, ma'am." And then she does the British thing, which is what? "Why don't you come in for a spot of tea?" And so they all go in, and they're sitting down, and they're having tea, and they're having this really, really nice time, and then they're shaking hands with her. Some of them are hugging her, and they hop back on the fire truck, and they back out, and they start heading down the street. But they weren't paying attention to where they were driving, and they ran over Bitsy. The cat died right away. And in the midst of that victory, a little bit of carelessness kind of messed up the rest of the day. So I hope, people, that we understand that there is victory available to all of us. Don't let it stop there. Don't allow ourselves to be careless. Don't allow the world to get caught up in our lives where that becomes the thing that we see. See, even if we surrender ourselves to Jesus at one point in our life, we can get distracted. God still loves us. Heaven is still ours. But we can get distracted. And this victorious Jesus is saying, you can live a victorious life as well. So I just want you to think, my first message for the new year, I just want you to think, what are the things that keep you up at night? What are the things that you worry about? What are the things that maybe, just maybe, you haven't necessarily given over control to Jesus about? Finances, illness, loneliness, dealing with some sort of conflict. What are the things that are keeping you up at night? That hopefully you now know and understand there's a victorious God, Jesus Christ, who not only overcomes these things, but can help us overcome these things as well. Can I read the end of another story to you? This is the whole Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And at the end of this, Aslan, who's a lion, and the image of Jesus Christ throughout all these stories, he just shared with the kids, right, that this is all a dream. You're going to go back home, and you're going to wake up in a second. And so they're about to leave this dream world. And it says this, and as he spoke, he no longer looked to them like a lion. But the things that began to happen after that were so great and beautiful, you cannot write them. And for us, this is the end of all the stories. And we can most truly say that they all lived happily ever after. But for them, which I'm hoping we see now is for us, but for them, it was only just the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world, and all their adventures in Narnia, had only been the cover and the title page. And now, at last, they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story, which no one on earth has read, and which goes on forever and ever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. God, may you help us to see that you, the victorious one, can write a story, starting today in our lives, or adding to the story that we've had up to this point. You can write a story starting now that is better than any chapter we have experienced. Because Jesus, you are our victor. Help us to see you as you really are. And then remind us, God, that we don't need to be afraid. Even if we messed up, even if we stumbled, even if we failed, even if we realize all the sins and mistakes that we made. You are saying, don't be afraid, because I am. Help us to begin to understand this victory in our lives. Help us to live it. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Those who are helping with communion, if you would please come forward. So I pray it. But today, we all get to make a physical response to it. And that's what communion is. Communion is where we come together in communion with one another to be in communion with Christ. So hear these words, and then I invite you to join me in communion. On that night, when Jesus was betrayed, he took some bread and he gave thanks for that. Then he broke it, and he handed it to his followers and said, "Take and eat, all of you. This is my body that's been given for you. Do this to remember me." And then after the meal, he takes a cup. He gives thanks for that, hands that to his followers, and says, "Drink, all of you. This is my blood that's been poured out for you, many, for the forgiveness of sins." This is the victorious King Jesus saying, "Come to me. Don't be afraid, because I will be with you. Do this to remember me." And so we do. It's the body of Christ given for you, blood of Christ shed for you. Let's turn this with hands. In our church, communion is open to everybody. It's each and every person here, even if it's your first time, forward. As you move towards the center aisle, somebody will hand you a piece of bread, which is all gluten-free today, so everyone can come. And you can dip it in the grape juice, then we invite you to kneel down and pray, or have a seat and pray, and then we throw some stuff up on the screen for you. Things for you to be thinking about during this time. If you don't know what to think about or pray about, just take a peek at the screen. And what it says this week is this trust. Trust Christ in areas that you realize you still have control in. And give them to Him. The second thing that I consider is are there friends that I can be encouraging who are discouraged? Maybe they're not seeing the victorious Jesus in the light of who He really is. And then the third one says stand. So some of us realize that Jesus is challenged in places in this world. Maybe we're called this week to stand in one of those places. Stand up for Jesus. And then there's this prayer, invite us all to pray as well. This is a time where we can come and meet Jesus, and I invite us to come. So please, please.
definitely a marquee song for this sermon series is Victory in Jesus. So we're going to close today with that. Would you please stand and join me? Victory in Jesus. I heard an old story, how a Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood's atoning, and I repented of my sin and won the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my heart is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about the healing of his cleansing power revealing, how he made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. And then I cried, dear Jesus, come and heal my broken spirit. And somehow Jesus came and brought to me the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about a mansion he has built for me in glory, and I heard about the streets of gold beyond the crystal sea, about the angels singing and the old redemption story, and some sweet day I'll sing up there the song of victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood.
Thank you so much for being a part of worship today. And bless us as we go. May we be people who understand that we can live a life of victory, but it's because Jesus is our victor. It's about him. May we embrace this victorious King, this Lord over all, and may we start writing new chapters in our life with him as the central character of all that we do. Go in peace, everyone. Amen.
It's gonna be all right. I guess it's gonna happy birthday.
speak fine.